schools in Vietnam are lack of lessons to generate creativity and imagination for students. Meanwhile, in the West, these factors are very important. Lessons on critical thinking, team projects, extracurricular activities separate from the class lectures are the basic methods that can be applied easily. In today's program, the process of general education reform in Scotland will set the example for Vietnam in order to bring about innovative and more effective teaching programs. Meanwhile, the guest of our program has many years of planning and building supporting projects for the Scottish school system in order to improve the quality, benefiting learners and increase confidence in the educational sector. And with the guest speaker, we want to introduce to you Mr. Graham Norris, the Assistant Director of Educational Scotland, and he will share with us on the experience in Scotland in educational reform. Thank you, Mr. Graham, for joining Sharing Vietnam today. First of all, we know that this is your first time in Vietnam, so can you share with us some impressions about our Vietnamese country?
Clearly a very vibrant and exciting community. And such a warm and welcoming and friendly people. I've found the whole thing very inspiring to come and learn about Vietnam.
So share with us a little bit about your work in Scotland for the viewer at home to get to know more a little bit about yourself.
So my work involves providing support and good interventions to help improve Scottish education. I manage a lot of staff who have responsibility for improving education, and we have inspection teams, and I have groups of inspectors who visit schools to see how well we're getting on.
Coming to Vietnam and participating in this event, can you share with us some of the things that you want to stress on and the things that you want to showcase about Scotland education?
I was asked to share Scotland's story of educational reform. The journey that we're on in Scotland to bring a new curriculum that is relevant to children this century. And so really what I've been doing is sharing how we've gone about changing our curriculum, our learning, teaching and assessment in Scotland, and it's for others to judge whether that's a way they would want to go or not.
With the topic of your talk about educational reform, which is something that the Vietnamese government had paid a lot of attention and have a huge concern into the changes that they wanted to make into the educational system of Vietnam. So what are the things that you can share, the changes that that Scotland had to face, had to endure in order to come into the result of today? And what are some practical methods that the Vietnamese government can adopt into the system?
12 years ago, we had a national debate, and we involved everybody who has a stake in education. So children, parents, teachers, head teachers, policymakers, business, everybody who has a stake in education was involved in a national conversation to determine what kind of education system we needed to do better in the future. And that debate led to the design of a new curriculum that has both knowledge and skills embedded. And the skills are skills for the 21st century that people need to do well and to succeed in their futures. So we defined the purposes of our education system. By involving everybody, we found that we could change the system incrementally, and we believe that a lot of incremental change leads to transformational change, but it takes many years to do it. It doesn't happen overnight.
Talk to people from around the world. I know that my students
recently,
think about their
ASEAN Deep Learning Policy Series was held in the theme of Empower Students with the 21st Century Deep Learning Skills. 120 delegates who are policy makers, educational administrators, schools in Vietnam, the United Kingdom, and other ASEAN countries share innovative approaches to inspire students with the aid of information technology, how to convey students with the necessary skills to become a global citizen in the 21st century, as well as integrated creative skills and imagination in schools through the successes in Vietnam and internationally.
Có lẽ là tôi tâm đắc nhất với những cái kinh nghiệm được chia sẻ của Scotland là tạo ra cái văn hóa thay đổi. Tạo ra văn hóa thay đổi trước tiên bằng cách là lôi kéo được tất cả mọi người và tham gia vào cái quá trình đổi mới đó. Họ tạo ra những cái cuộc tranh luận ở cấp quốc gia, lấy ý kiến đóng góp của rất nhiều các nhà giáo dục, các nhà khoa học và nhiều tầng lớp nhân dân để tạo ra một cái chiến lược cải tổ giáo dục của Scotland. Thì nếu mà so sánh lại đối với giáo dục Việt Nam trong thời gian gần đây thì tôi thấy rằng là Bộ Giáo dục đang có những cái chiến lược tương tự bằng cách là trao quyền nhiều hơn cho các nhà trường.
Mỗi một quốc gia có một cái đặc thù riêng về giáo dục, về chương trình và chúng ta không thể nào mà áp đặt một cách rất là máy móc cái chương trình của nước này vào nước mình được, và chúng ta cần phải có những cái nhà hoạch định tương đối là linh hoạt và có thể là tìm được những cái hay, cái tốt của họ và đồng thời là phối hợp với cái đặc thù của Việt Nam để mà xây dựng nên. Nhưng mà cái hay nhất mà tôi nhìn thấy được từ những cái diễn giả này đó là cái tính hệ thống. Tức là chúng ta làm mọi thứ, chúng ta cũng đưa ra kế hoạch nhưng mà chúng ta chưa có được cái hệ thống tốt như họ. Và cái hệ thống của họ là đánh giá cái quá trình làm việc. Chính những cái tiêu chí đánh giá như vậy nó sẽ làm cho cái việc cải cách nó trở nên là chắc chắn hơn và có hiệu quả hơn.
From such exchange program and dialogues, the educators in Vietnam can be integrated with education in advanced countries. Accordingly, the advanced education system should equip students with the basic skills to be ready to enter life, including practical problem solving, communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, character education, application skills of information technology in learning and life, and lastly, skills to become global citizens. Can you share more particularly into the things that Scotland had put into their extra curriculum and also their classroom activities?
We have defined the curriculum as being 4 places. One is what happens in the classroom. The second one is what happens beyond the classroom all of the time. We're all learning wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we're learning. The third one is on how you join up disciplines within the curriculum. So it's about learning to be literate and applying that literacy in different areas of the curriculum, different subjects to make it relevant. And the fourth one is how we learn about values from the people that we work with, their values, and how we learn our own understandings through that. We have defined the skills, the purposes of education, and we call these the 4 capacities. The 4 capacities are to be a successful learner, to be a confident individual, to be a responsible citizen, and to be an effective contributor. And within each of these 4 capacities, we have attributes and capabilities. And that's the definition of our purpose for Scottish education. And we've shared that with the delegates at the conference. We've had that translated into Vietnamese so people can see. And what we found was by having a clear purpose that everybody understood and recognised, we were able then to change the detail of the curriculum.
Talking back about the event today where you have a lot of chances to interact with the Vietnamese college, which is a rare chance for Scottish experts and Vietnamese government authorities of education to actually talk to each other. So what are the things that you have observed from them through the interactions and the things that you have learned from them about their eagerness of making changes into Vietnamese education?
Well, I can share what we do in Scotland, and it's for our colleagues in Vietnam to decide if that's appropriate for them. So yesterday I worked with the Vice Minister and the ministry people we had a conversation about what we do in Scotland, and the key things that I've shared then and today with colleagues here were defining a clear purpose for your education system that people recognise, defining the values of your education system, and defining the principles on which you will build your education system. And these are broad, high-level guidelines or guidance. And secondly, to think about the process of change, the culture that you need for people to change. How do you get the culture where people feel confident about being creative and innovating to make things better? So you have to think about the emotions of change and how people feel about it, and you have to use tools to help them to build the change process. And I guess my other piece of learning from Scotland was it takes a long time to bring about. I've been hugely impressed with the commitment and the willingness of the Vietnamese people that I've met to bring about the kind of improvements to the education system. And you know, it's really similar to Scotland. We're on the same journey. We're all trying around the world, we're all trying to design an education system that will do us well in the future and do young people well in the future. So I've been hugely impressed with the dialogue and the conversation and the commitment of the people in the British Council and in Vietnam that I've been working with.
To wrap up our talk today, can you share with us the things that you have gained throughout the talk with Vietnamese people that you want to take back and use it as an experience to make changes in your country, as well as the things that you would want to cooperate with Vietnamese government in the future, probably for making some real changes into our educational system?
Yes, I'm excited by what I'm seeing in Vietnam, and one of the pleasures of these kind of visits is the amount of things I learn when I travel, and so there's a lot of things going on in Vietnam that I will learn from and take back to Scotland.
Thank you, Mr. Graham, so much, and I hope that you have a really good time in Vietnam and you will gain a lot of experiences, a good experience with our country. And that's the end of Sharing Vietnam today. Thank you so much for watching us. Any questions and recommendations, please email at sharingvietnam@netvietTV.net. Thank you and see you again. And I hope that for the last reportage, please take a look at some of the great things about the Scottish education.
Keep it fun, put me first, I'm number one. Give me freedom, give me choices, time to listen, hear our voices. See the person, what I'm about, work together, talk, don't shout.
Could you me realize a cook, could you me a torskabo, Sean a rowing, and Toru or a creating.
Help me grow, help me achieve, it's my future, make me believe.